Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Flux Cup, and welcome to this Week 1 match between Quokka Queens and currently Team 2, but it's actually MI6. Don't let the names fool you. I'm Acronator. I'll be your play-by-play caster tonight, joined with Florida.
Hello. I'm excited for this game. These look like two pretty quality teams, so we should have a pretty good match.
Yeah. A lot of interesting lineup choices we got here. Of course, we have the two League Zero staff. On Quokka Queens, Zach seems to be on main tank shunned, not on support. He's actually on DPS this time around, seemingly flex DPS, depending on what position he is in the lobby. Also, a little bit of rivalry there, I suppose, between Shunned and his former manager Wana of MI6. So, be interesting to see. What are your takes on these lineups so far, Florida, from what you're seeing?
Things are looking pretty good, and each side has a decently has pretty strong lineups. If people are familiar with League Zero, there's a lot of familiar faces here. Uh, I think QQ has a better blend of the inter and then a novice player, Mello. Mello was actually really good on OTW, so I am not surprised to see him in the starting position. MI6 interesting. They're going for Herping Yoshi. I don't know if they have another off tank. However, Herping is actually pretty good. He was the main carry of who was it? Hyperflex, I believe, a couple of seasons ago in League Zero. So it's not that surprising that he eventually got the call out. 360 is a little bit more interesting though. I don't. He's good for his sniper heroes. I know. He usually struggles on other roles, but maybe they're putting him in specifically for that sniper role.
Yeah, especially with Busan seeming to be the first map pick here. I haven't seen which team gets map pick or has chosen as of yet, but that's what we're currently on. 360, of course, in for Taken Wallet, who was in the preseason tournament. It was primarily Craig and Taken. Tree sitting on the bench at the time being, but seems to be getting some potential playtime here, as that's what they've called for. A
Yep.
few other players. I believe Dream is drowsy, so I believe he'll be
Yeah.
playing the other tank
Yeah.
opposite of Herping Yoshi.
Yeah. Also something that has just occurred to me. So the meta right now involves a lot of Wrecking Ball Sigma. I don't know how many teams here in Apprentice are actually playing that. However, I do know Herping Yoshi does enjoy playing the Wrecking Ball, so maybe perhaps that is the reason they're playing Herping over maybe their main tank and Martini. I believe Martini's the main tank at least. That's what I remember him
Uh,
playing it.
he did
I
play
might
main
be
tank
wrong.
in the preseason, so yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they've seen something in Herping Yoshi's Wrecking Ball or Sigma that they like and are going to go with that. That might be the reason we're seeing him come out here on the side of MI6. However, we'll have to see. I am interested to see what Busan's going to bring. Of course, Busan, the map itself has a bunch of kind of different types of compositions you can see. Control center, for instance, mecha base, not control center. Control center is Lijiang, but mecha base tends to lend itself a lot to brawl, which is the Ryan Zarya's or the Ryan Sigmas. Whereas downtown and sanctuary really lends itself to snipers, to the dive compositions or double shield or the Sigma ball or what I like to call rock and roll compositions that have been a lot more commonplace nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. Might be a good reason as to why 360 is currently in. They're expecting to hit, downtown where Ash or Widowmaker is rather common. Like you said, Sanctuary, huge sightlines. We currently have probably the most scuffed countdown in match chat history. I would
Well,
assume
that is
that you could
because
see it.
yeah, that's because Poofa needed to get an orange apparently.
Ah.
So uh, she really was hungry. Okay, so we're coming to Busan.
Ooh,
We'll
downtown.
see downtown. My game is a little behind, but downtown again is a lot. Is like the
Oh,
best
Hadoop.
one of the best Widow maps currently in the game. Recently with her distance nerf, Widow has kind of decreased a little bit in viability, and Ash has kind of taken her spot. But downtown has always been a consistent Widow map. So
Yeah, as long as your hit scans hitting their shots, and I don't think anyone's going to be questioning 360's ability to hit his shots as to whether Grimace or Shun, depending on who might try to contest Tree
I'm
on the Widow.
from what I remember through pugs, Shun typically enjoys the flex DPS position. Usually would be playing like the tracer or whatever is to the outside of the hit scan. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Grimace on the Widow. I don't trust Grimace's Widow as much as I do 360s, but we'll have to see, of course. You, I haven't seen Grimace play in a little bit. I used to be on a team with him, and obviously he could have changed in like the few months that I've been separated from him. So we'll have to see here as the composition's coming on. Of course, this is kind of trolly. We don't know. I'm not sure if we're gonna see the Genji or the Roadhog. We'll have to see. I mean, Roadhog actually isn't in a bad spot. I have seen Roadhog work in certain situations. However, this does seem, yeah, there it is. That's what I figured. Herping's gonna go to the Wrecking Ball, and it is the Wrecking Ball Sigma.
Sure enough.
Yep.
Am I
All right,
pissed?
so we're sorry. You can go.
I was just gonna say MI6 played a decent amount of meta in the preseason, so no real surprises here.
Yep, MI6 on the meta, while there is a dive composition coming out from the side of Quokka Queens here, or QQ. Quokka Queens immediately go into point.
Yeah, sure enough, just a little bit of hope. Grimace finds 360 rather early there with the mines and will get immediately rezzed up. So for the time being, a lot of poke. Craig doing his tracer thing in the backline. Completely decimates Grimace as he tries to poke out. Mello actually finding his counterpart Totodile. And for the most part, it looks like Queens will be the ones taking the first capture percentage here, as MI6 are really just taking it slow, taking their time.
Yep. With the falling down of Craig did a lot of work actually, taking out, I forget who it was. I think it was the Mercy on the other side, or no, I forget who he took out.
Grimace?
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, he did take out the Echo. This Ashe is a little bit exposed right now just because... Oh, never mind! Never mind! Just
Never doubt
360. Yeah, no, 360 is a really good Ashe. I would say, though, the Echo Tracer just put a lot of pressure into the Ashe, so... But he does just take out both DPS. Totodile does die, but the composition already had low heals, and it's looking like MI6 is turning this fight into 360, getting
already
3 kills, 4 kills,
kill feed,
5 kills.
Make it 5 kills. Will he make it
6?
6? That will be 6 for
Actually, I think
already.
he killed Shun twice. Actually, from what I remember, Shun got killed the first time, came back, and immediately died again. So that's just got to be insult to injury. I do like how they're playing this. It's kind of like Protect the President at this point, because the dive composition really wants to get onto the immortal targets of the Zen and the Ashe. And right now, the Ashe seems to be the primary dive target of QQ. And right now, they're playing really defensively. Oh, but they've just gotten the...
Lessons coming in almost immediately will be pressuring out, but the Gravitic Flux coming in from Dream will start to pressure down the Queens, starting to throw in quite a lot of ultimates. Finally, the beat starts to come in favor of the Quokka Queens. The mines being tossed out by Irving Yoshi, but that will be his death knells, as that is the final thing he'll be able to do right before being cleared off of the point.
Yeah, interesting. Really nice dive coming out from the side of Quokka, able to take out that Zen almost immediately. And it was really interesting that the Bob and the Lift did not really get that much value. That was really nice peel, I think, from the Moira and the Lucio. And I think that amount of heals kind of helped out that situation.
I get the idea.
And while we do have the teams posturing for the next engagement, it's really just poke damage at the moment.
It is 4v2 ultimates on the side of It's 4v2 ultimates right now. Well,
Herping Yoshi will be diving into the backline, taking out Grimace with a pile driver, like a nail into wood, as Zacaro is trying to do something in the backline, but he's forced out. He is already half health, no Primal Rage remaining. That will be 360 in Dream cleaning up, as MI6 are trying to regain control of this point. Rockcraft's taken out of the mech. 360 left to his own devices, trying to 1v1 Shunned here, but the Tracer will get the better of that duel.
Yeah, I do think it's really interesting how Quokka has been playing this. They have been focusing the right targets, but when it seems every time they do that, the other four of MI6 focus down the weaker elements, which is the Moira and the Moira and the seems the Echo has actually been dying the most first, which is not common, but there is a Nash on the other side, and Shun gets body shot from the Ashe. And
the dive coming in from Quokka Queens and trying to make something out of this dive, but Shun gets taken out by the gravitic Flux Dream, deciding to invest his ultimate early to make sure that nothing can quite happen, but 360 taking a bomb straight to the face, but it's alright because his Bob is doing something. Will take out the main support on the side of the Quokka Queens. Monarch soon to fall, but both supports on both sides now gone as the Queens are cleaning up house. Shun lighting up the kill feed, doing everything he possibly can to blink around. Will find the worst half of a Helix Rock from 360, but that will be the Queens taking this first round 100 to 99%.
yeah, I think the big turning point in that fight was Putha went for a res on, I think it was the Tracer on the side of MI6. I forget who the Tracer was. And I'm gonna need the graphic. Yeah, took it. Crake had fallen, and Putha went for a res, but got trapped because the Winston was body blocking the body, and then ended up dying because of it. And at the same exact moment, the Lucio got killed. So, I do think that was better executed on the side of QQ. I do think MI6 had a little bit of a better composition. However, I do think the Zen was really exposed because every single time the dive came in, the Zen died.
Totodile certainly having a little bit of a rough time here as their debut is happening as we speak. First round of the first map of this new season for Flux Cup. Already we have Quokka Queens on the good old-fashioned brawl. I'm sure Zakaro is slightly disgruntled about locking the Rhine for the umpteenth time. But
yep,
regardless, that's what they're sticking with.
I do think that the Brawl does have an advantage here on this specific map. However, I do think QQ is playing this really well, keeping their maximum amounts of distance away from this composition. They can't engage, obviously, because if the Brawl runs them over, they're probably going to die. However, I do like how they're keeping their space, just able to poke away, and that poke is going to lead
sure
to
enough, as
dying.
you say that, you do have Krayek and Herping Yoshi deciding to dive in onto the vulnerable targets. One person from each role, now two from the side of the tanks on the Quokka Queens now down, and that will be MI6 taking the points after just 17%, given rather good discipline there from them.
Yep. Yeah, really good rotations, rotating away from the Brawl comp, giving up point. Even it didn't seem like it was always bad to give a point percentage, but in this competition, point isn't the main priority. It's getting amount of poke damage in. And also, I just feel like Brawl is going to be a little bit exposed if this Ashe and Zen just be able to poke away. Though, as I say that, I keep caster cursing. It's even, though, but they have lost the healer, and Poofa gets trapped in a corner.
That will be both supports now gone for MI6. They're going to have to play extremely carefully because all damage is now permanent for the time being as the Quokka Queens just descend onto the point.
The only problem is I don't think Brawl has a lot of speed to help like cleanly clean up this fight. I do think MI6 should be able to keep touching, especially with this Wrecking Ball. I'm surprised the Bob did not go into point, but I think he just got unlucky with a wall being down. But that was actually a pretty good stall. They were down like a majority of both their healers for a large majority of that fight. So really nice execution. The only problem I can see is that Poofa got a little bit over ambitious trying to keep Herping Yoshi alive. I think she flew a little bit too close to the sun and kind of got melted by rocket crafts. So I do think MI6 has the right idea with playing this composition. The problem is now Brawl is in a lot better position now in like holding on to this point because they're able to kind of dictate the momentum. Though I say that to
already the ultimates come out. The Gravitic Flux from Dream will find just about everyone, but the damage is negated by Mellow's beat as well as Shun's Blizzard helping clean up quite a few of the fight. Dream and Totodile fall once again, finding themselves into their own spawn quite a bit, and sure enough the reset will be coming out as everyone thrusts themselves off into the Busan Day.
Yeah, I do think the QQ is executing a lot cleaner. than MI6. MI6 on the initial fight was looking pretty good. However, I don't know. It does seem that they've gotten a little bit off their momentum here.
Oh.
Though, as I keep caster cursing, because 360 gets a kill on Sean. Dream needs the grab!
Rockcraft's grab now gone out of this fight until he can build up a new one, which won't be for some time. That is the go button for MI6, and no, not a second too soon as the time bank is ticking up. Shatter coming in from Zakara will find 3. 2 dead, now make it 3. Dreams soon to follow. Herping Yoshi trying to do something. Kraex stalling out on the point. Rockcraft's doing his best to stop any attempts at salvaging this for MI6 as they are coming in staggering. Grimace tosses in the Death Blossom, but it will not stop a Transcendence. Zen, a Totodile. Now the only one left will not survive very long. If Sean has anything to say about a Dream, doing anything he can to stay alive, but he's already out of his mech, and that will be Busan going in favor of the Quokka Queens.
QQ looks just a lot better at executing. MI6 looks a little bit too passive, especially like they were up in numbers and they didn't really engage until it was too late, and Zakara was able to get a clean shatter off, which is this shatter that is the play of the game, because this was the turning point. They were down, I believe, 1 or 2 that were coming back to spawn, and because QQ decided to engage instead of MI6 just slowly engaging instead of trying to hard engage, which is the weakness of the rock and roll composition. I think that they were just a little bit too slow to get into the thick of things, and because of that, Quokka King saw an opportunity, took it, and win the map because of it. I do think QQ is definitely executing a lot cleaner than MI6 is right now.
Well, there is still plenty of time in this series to make something of it, as that was only the first map. This is, of course, first 2-3 points. Quokka Queens will get to choose whether they want to defend or attack first, and MI6 will get to choose the escort map. So they'll have about 5 minutes to make those choices.
Is it escort? Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at the map pool and it's out of order. So escort will be Rialto, Dorado, or Junkertown. Personally, if MI6 is really committed to running the small Sigma composition, I do think either Dorado is probably their best option for running this composition. Junkertown is a little bit exposed, I think, for the Wrecking Ball, because the Wrecking Ball, especially on point A, and point B and C, the composition can work a lot better. But on point A, the Wrecking Ball is kind of out in the open, and there's not many walls or points to be able to jump off of in order to cause pile drives. I would say, and then Dorado though just has a lot of high ground, and that's where the that composition really thrives, especially with the Ash being able to take alternative high ground, and being able to create cross angles with a Sigma. So I do think Dorado is probably their best option, but never mind.
As
I'm
they
stupid,
say that,
apparently.
Junkertown.
As I say that, it will be Junkertown. It's interesting. I wonder if there's going to be any subs. I don't know if there will be, and if there are not. The big weakness I'm seeing right now with MI6's composition, I think they might need to consider switching off the Zenyatta. Zen just seems to be an opening a lot of these times for QQ. QQ has just been playing a lot more coordinated, I think, a lot more together. It is true that they did struggle on like that first point, but that's because MI6 was playing the initial point correctly on Busan Mecha Base. However, afterwards, you just saw QQ take it over because Brawl was able to out composition, I think, the rock and roll, especially on that map, where it's hard for the Ash to really get away from the Reinzar composition, especially with Lucio on the other side. So I would not be surprised if MI6 makes that adaptation away from the Zen. However, of course, they could have been practicing this for a while, so they might just be committed to it. Also, Junkertown's a really good sniper, another good sniper map. So I think they're probably going to keep 360 in here.
Would not be surprised. For the time being, we're just waiting on both of these teams to give the R. Quokka Queens have decided to stay on the defense, so they will get to create the win condition if they can stop MI6 at any point before full capping.
What's going to make me intrigued if they try a up close and personal spawn camp That's always a fun strategy. Back when I was on Wisdom, which is coached by when I was on Wisdom Academy, which Nev coaches, we always ran the May Reaper Brawl, and we just hid right next to the doorway, walled off whoever came out, and killed them, and just tried to spawn trap them. I'm gonna be interested to see if QQ tries it because it does look their brawl composition is actually pretty good. However, I would not be surprised if that does not happen.
Well, we will have a little while longer to decide. Do you have Rockcrafts? I believe you can see match chats. I do have Rockcrafts. Making sure that Wooly gets the stats, but I can see that Wooly already did, so we're good there.
Yep. Apparently, I need access. Thanks.
Do need to be able to see it. I'll leave that more to Florida. He'll be the analytical type. I just say words fast. Anyways, do have a few more minutes remaining. Probably closer to minute and a half remaining. Doesn't look like any substitutes will be coming out. No real surprise to anyone at this moment in time. Both of these teams performed rather well. They seem comfortable with these compositions. The only reasonable thing I could see would be taking Wallet in for 360, but considering we're going the Junker down, snipers are.
I would not be surprised to see the Ash come out again. Oh look, this is a updated week 1. This is nice. Let's see. Fun fact: the most damage was actually never mind. Ignore me. Ignore me. Never mind. So here we go. I actually don't have anything to add. 360 has. Oh my. So 360 currently has 15 final blows on map 1, which was more than his entire team combined. So he was the main reason they were in the game for most of the time, I think. He was doing a majority of the damage. It's going to be interesting, but it does seem that QQ is operating a little bit more as a team. And hopefully, though, I hope MI6 can get their act together here because I want a tight game.
And just as we say that, the teams are ready, so we're going to be heading off to the irradiated land of Australia to escort a bomb to the Junker Queen, at least according to the lore. In all reality, we're just going to watch people shoot each other for some odd minutes, but, good old fun.
Yeah. It's going to be I'm interested to see what QQ is going to roll out here with, because the two compositions they ran with on Busan are not compositions that typically work well here on Junkertown, because dive is too exposed, and typically brawl is also kind of exposed. It is looking like they're going to lean towards the SIG ball composition. It's going to be a SIG ball, Hanzo, Mercy, Zen Racer. I do know that Grimace prefers the Hanzo to any of the other sniper heroes, so that is not honestly a surprise. That is not really a surprise to me. And honestly, this is just looking like a typical meta composition. We might be seeing a meta unless Dream sticks with this Zarya, which might happen.
Well, the teams are getting ready to go, and we will see them come out on essentially what we saw. 360, no surprises on the Widowmaker, at least for the time being. And just a little bit of poke coming in. MI6 trying to push the cart little by little, although they seem to have forgotten it as the dive comes in from Zakaro and shunned. The two-man kill squad there, but they do have to back out as no kills are secured, and Zakaro in particular is getting a little bit low. Quokka Queens are now trying to back off of the high ground to avoid any sightlines from the aforementioned Widowmaker, but Zakaro does actually get a little bit low before he can retreat. Rockcraft soon to follow, but Herping Yoshi is also taken back to his respective spawn, so that will be the offense taking a little bit more of their time to just regroup.
Yep. I do think, however, I like MI6's adaptation here, running that Brig, just to put a little bit more, give a little bit more protection to the Zen, and because that Totodile was able to get a good amount of value out of his Discords and damage.
Do have a little bit of a scuffle coming up on the right side of point. The Wrecking Balls and Tracers duking it out just a little bit. But it looks like Rockcraft will actually be the first one to fall. 360 finding a little bit of an angle here. for the most part, MI6 are just rolling on through. The cart pushing steadily forward as the pile drive comes in, and Mello just did not stand a chance as the kill squad of Krayek and Herping. It's a little bit too much for the defense to handle. 360 will find the worst half of a pulse bomb, but that's really all that's going to happen here for the defense. Shund will eventually take out his counterpart with Krayek, but it's really just him here trying to do something, stall out the point if he can, harass the backline if possible, but he's not having too much success as he's having to duck and weave his way through. 360 now taking a close battle with Shund before thinking better of it, as the cart is just about there. It's about 5 meters away, give or take. The gravitic flux coming into Rockcrafts, and he doesn't even get to hit the ground. No such luxury afforded to the defense, as the Dragons now coming in from Grimace. Totodile does fall, but the kills are still coming in favor of the offense for the time being. Herping Yoshi rolling his way through the defense, and that will be first point captured for MI6.
I really do. This adaptation has really been helping out. I know Totodile did die in that composition, but I do think the Brig is providing a lot more security for the Sigma, and in addition is providing a little bit more healing than the Mercy Zen was. Also, 360 is of course as always performing extremely well on this Widowmaker. Even though Grimace did get the better hand of him last fight, as I say that. I gotta stop caster cursing. Alright. 360 will go down. There is no res on the side of MI6, which is the one weakness in their composition. However, they do seem to have a decent firm control of this point. It's going to be hard for Sakura, I think, to engage onto the backline, especially with his Brig.
Zakaro getting incredibly low. He is barely able to get the Mega Health Pack, but Krayek still causing quite a bit of a ruckus in the backline. Shund whiffs his Pulse Bomb as Krayek is let go for the time being. The mines coming in from Herping Yoshi up onto the high ground. They do not want anyone else from the defense to claim the advantage here. It looks like Krayek still trying to do his work in the backline. Pressure out a little bit by Grimace, but for the most part still allowed to reign free. Blink wherever he so pleases. Still has that Pulse Bomb, but he might hold on to it for the time being, as it looks like the offense backed up for just a brief moment there. Both sides a little bit even, but with that, Monarch will fall to the Pulse Bomb. And it looks like Rockcrafts and Mello will just have to take a careful rotation, but they're going to be caught out, and that will more than likely be second point for MI6.
Yeah, MI6 looks really comfortable in this composition, while Quokka Queens is kind of besides Shund, and I think Shund and Zakaro are kind of shining right now on the side of Quokka Queens. However, MI6 just looks a lot more coordinated, especially with their dives between Krayek and Herping Yoshi. It does look like they've practiced this a lot more, and I'm starting to think maybe QQ isn't really as comfortable in this competition as MI6 is. And 360
360 now out of the claustrophobic area of second points, does have quite a few more sight lines to work with here onto this final point, but Grimace will get the better of his sniper counterpart. The Mercy Pocket does wonders for him as the bomb does things, and Queen's House. And that will be the cart finally stopping for what seems like the first time this push.
Yeah. However, they only traded the Sigma ult for both the trans and the Bob, so I don't think that's a bad trade. Quokka Queens. Oh, Grimace will be going over the Widow, trying to win a Widow v Widow duel. Of course, this is the old mantra: if you die to a Widow, you must immediately go Widow to fight them. It'll be Mines and Lift on the side of Quokka Queens. Pulse Bomb gets out, gets Mello of all
Mello
people.
now gone. You unfortunately cannot res yourself, so the Guardian Angel of the Quokka Queens is now out of the fight for a brief period. They'll be coming back in a few seconds. Mines coming in from Zakaro, most of them caught up on the high ground, the rest scattered around the cart, but it doesn't seem to be helping as Zakaro falls soon thereafter. Monarch felled by Krayek, but Krayek will also get taken out by Rockcrafts. Totodile saving himself from a Pulse Bomb with his own Transcendence. And it looks like Herping Yoshi will be investing his mines up into the front line, finding Monarch once again. The res does nothing. Mello has to just walk into the attackers, attempting to reset here as Rockcrafts is very low. He does have that Gravitic Flux, but will he be able to get it off in any reasonable amount of time as Zakaro gets taken out by 360, just resting in the backline. Completely uncontested. Grimace now onto the Echo, but they don't touch! And that is a staggering time bank for third point Junkertown.
Yeah.
1 minute 48 seconds.
So, big things that I've noticed, at least, first off, the reason that happened, Herping Yoshi did not get caught in the grab flux and was able just to roll on the point, and no one else was touching because the Sigma had just floated up in the air. And that's the main reason they unfortunately, I don't know how much of a Charlie Niner that was, but that was a relatively minor Charlie Niner right there. Charlie Niner is of course C9. But otherwise, the big thing I'm noticing is the Wrecking Ball is getting not a lot of value on the side of Quokka Queens. Every time, I think it's Zakaro, I believe, is the Wrecking Ball on the side of Quokka Queens. Every time Zakaro went in, the Sigma or the Brig was able to either stun him or just able to chip him down enough for Totodile to finish him off. Also, 360 was putting a ton of pressure on a Grimace on the side onto either the Ash, Hanzo, or
We do
Widow.
have a call for pause.
Yeah. But overall, I do think, yeah, MI6 looks amazing on this composition. Maybe perhaps they're good. It's looking like they're really strong in the, let's just say rock and roll v rock and roll composition. However, it does seem whenever they match up against another composition, they were a little bit weaker, especially on downtown Busan. But maybe this is just because this is their map and this is the map they practice the most on.
Possibly, although the Junkertown is a rather weird map to practice that often, as it's usually not picked. So maybe they were just hoping to get Quokka Queens off kilter, as you do have a potential double shield, which is considered suboptimal in the current meta. So if they decide to stick with it, Quokka Queens now on the offense might have a little bit of difficulty finding their footing.
Yeah, the big thing I'm also seeing is Herping and Crate kind of have free reign right now. The only real counter to them, the only CC that is available to Quokka Queens is the Sigma Rock, and that's usually reserved only for the Wrecking Ball, and that usually does not result in a kill. So I'm a little bit surprised that the Brig has not yet come out on the side of Quokka Queens, because that would be the biggest counter, especially the Herping and to Crake. However, it's the problem is you have to split your focus, and as soon as you focus on Herbie and Crake, the other core four are doing a lot of work. And honestly, I am really worried that if Quokka does not make some adaptations pretty quickly, they might get overwhelmed here.
Well, they do have quite a ways to push as they need to full cap with. Well, they don't technically need time as this is escort as opposed to hybrid. But of course, they're going to want time if they want any chance of pushing it any further. If this does go into extra time, but if MI6 has anything to say about it, this is going to be stopped before it even gets the first point. So we're going to have to wait and see who can take their win condition and roll with it.
Yep. Mercy's going to come out to try to pocket the Ash, I believe. Mercy, again, there's not really any counters for this Tracer and for this Wrecking Ball. So we'll have to see if MI6 can capitalize on this, or if Quokka Queen just is better at this composition.
You do have Craig on a long flank over to his left. Quokka Queen's right, as he is immediately diving onto Shun, getting rather low, but he will be healed back up. Craig having to retreat for the time being. Just a lot of poke coming in for right now, as the teams haven't really fully engaged. You'll wait for Herping Yoshi to dive in for the real go signal, but Craig getting taken out early is not a good sign for the defense here, as they will have to back up. That is a huge amount of their damage now gone, as 360 really has to work around two shields. Do have a little bit of a dive coming in onto Rockcrafts, but otherwise these teams are still stabilizing.
Yeah, I do think there's more overall damage in Quokka Queen's composition, especially with the Orisa. I know Orisa doesn't do a large amount of damage, but it is a lot more sizable than the Wrecking Balls, in my personal opinion. But nice boot.
Oh, Totodile finding Shun, so that is a huge amount of damage now gone. The resurrection does come in from Mello, but that is the only resurrection they will have for about 30 seconds. 360 in the backline, far in the backline, mind you, doing damage basically uncontested, despite the fact that Quokka Queens are running double sniper. There's only so much range you can cover effectively when you are not a Widowmaker, as Totodile getting a little bit of revenge on Quokka Queen's DPS for what happened in Busan. The bloodthirsty Zenyatta is starting to come out.
Yeah, MI6 is actually playing this really well. They backed him to the corner where the composition is a little bit more advantage, especially with the Zen and the Widowmaker. and also allows them to take a lot more distance away from both the Orisa and the Sigma, which is also providing a little bit of extra damage. And also I like how MI6 is also playing a little slow here, especially with the sights that were up. Never mind, I'm stupid.
Herping Yoshi will get taken down to about half health, but he does have the speed to roll around. Shund will eventually take out 360 from the fight. Rockcrafts takes out Krayek's Pulse Bomb, and Totodile will be caught out once again from Grimace. The revenge was short-lived as Shund in the backline, a little bit of an aggressive Hanzo here, will be lighting up the kill feed, and that will more than likely be first point rather, for the offense here.
Yeah, so the main difference maker I am seeing right now is Quokka Queens is if they find a target, they're able to do a lot more damage to it. It kind of takes all 6 members, or at least the main poking members of MI6 to get picks in order for this composition really to work with the Sigma Ball. But it also helps that all 6 members of Quokka Queens are together, while MI6 is playing a little bit split.
Such is the fate of the Ball Sigma, as it really needs to be a 2-4 kill squad, but the kills are starting to go back and forth. Both Gravitic Fluxes coming out, but Totodile is ready with the Transcendence, so no kills will come out of Rockcraft. Speaking of which, getting rather low, almost booped out into the open, but Krayek will actually be the first to fall in that little scuffle. Quite a lot of ultimates being invested here from the offense. They really want to get past this high ground. Herping Yoshi, of course, will fall with so many Qs being tossed out into his face. The Dynamite coming out from Grimace, lighting basically everyone on fire, and the supports cannot last through such a sustained damage over time. Quokka Queens rolling on forward, claiming this high ground as their own.
Yeah, it's really... MI6 is at a little bit of a disadvantage just because the ultimates are a lot more impactful on the side of Quokka Queens, especially because this Bob... the Bob was able to wear down Dream, and then Zakaro punches him, and then Grimace takes out Krayek with the Bob. So I do think Quokka Queens has adapted nicely, being able to put a lot more pressure onto Dream, the lone Sig barrier of Dream, and also putting a lot more pressure onto the Wrecking Ball, I believe. Because, oh my god,
Shund will get domed from Shund and taken out with a final body shot.
Shund has been insane on this Hanzo, able to put a lot of pressure, especially onto the Wrecking Ball, especially onto the Tracer, because the Hanzo is able to burst down targets really quickly. I do think MI6 is at a little bit of back foot here. Though they will be getting a decent dive off, but the lamp comes out.
Monarch getting pressured out, so the Immortality Field no longer available. Ultimate starting to come out for the defense. Zakaro caught out. Will be brought down to about half health, but his shield is available. Shun tossing in. The Dragons will actually find Totodile through the floor, as well as Dream backing up into it. And the offense trying to make something of this. Both DPS from the side of MI6 trying to make something of it. Rockcraft's really the only one left on 2 points, doing his best, but he backs up into a mine. Herping Yoshi precariously placed a little bit behind, and that will actually be the card stopping for the time being.
I don't know if you noticed this, but the 2 ashes were on the exact opposite sides, like on the wrong sides of the center pillar here. I believe it was Grimace was chasing the Zen down in the trench area, in the underground area. Meanwhile, Tree was just sniping the rest of the team. It was kind of funny. However, really good plays from Tree. Tree kind of clutched that, got 3 kills, kind of turned the tide of that fight. There's 3 ultimates on the side of Quokka Queens, but Shun will get Tree.
Will be immediately rezzed up, however, so the defender back into the fight, just about at his Bob, and as I say that, he gets it. The defense is poised and ready to use some of their ultimates, but they might not need to with the Baptiste now gone for the defense. Mello going for a really risky res. Shund actually body blocking to make sure that the other healer can get back into the fight. Rockcraft's looking for something with his Gravitic Flux, but slamming everyone into the ground is not exactly the most effective method, but you have a Robotic Monk going on steroids for a brief period of time. Poofa is the first to fall, however, as Grimace in the backline. However, he will be taken out by his counterpart. A little bit of a scrappy back and forth here, but it looks like the defense will be able to hold for the time being.
I do think Herping Yoshi's actually doing a lot here. It is really disrupting the backline. That Baptiste kill was mostly up to him, rolling through him, slamming him, and then Dream following it up. I do think MI6 is coordinating really well, and they're able to sustain through the massive amounts of damage. Right now, only Grimace is really getting any value out of that Tracer. Was able to kill off that Mercy here. We'll have to see what happens though.
About 60 seconds remaining, so already Quokka Queens will not have as good a time as MI6 did. Pufa, very early on the Valk, does not want their team to get out of this fight too early, but as I say that, Totodile is looking out. 360 soon follow Totodile back in the fight from a resurrection, as well as Herping Yoshi investing his mines. Looks like the defense wants to end this as quickly as possible, but the kills are not coming in their favor as Quokka Queens are cleaning up house. They do have quite a ways to push, but Grimace, if he has anything to say about it, will force the cart on to the completion box at the very end of the path here. Defense still had plenty of time to recontest.
Yeah, really good switch by Grimace onto this Tracer. Now that Pufa's off the brig, the backline is really exposed, and I think that this was a really good adaptation. Now comes the Bongo.
Bongo coming out from Zakaro. Quite a bit of extra damage coming in for the offense, but how long will it last as MI6 are playing these sight lines? They don't want to touch until the Bongo is quite about done. Herping Yoshi coming in will eventually take it out, but he is taken out. In the meantime, Monarch will fall, and they might have a res for that. In fact, they do. They do have Totodile onto the point with his Transcendence, but it will wear out just about as the Heroic Flux comes in for Rockcrafts. Quokka Queens cleaning up house as they will more than likely finish here in overtime, allowing them about a minute of extra time, but MI6 do have quite the hefty time bank on top of that, almost 3 minutes as opposed to Quokka Queens 1.
Yeah, really nice adaptation coming out from the side of Quokka Queens, going to that Tracer. I mentioned it really briefly, but it looks like Quokka Queens has been paying attention. Grimace wasn't getting much value onto the Ashe, only got really like one Bob before the end of second point, which is really uncommon, especially if the Ashe is supposed to be the primary damage dealer. So Grimace immediately switches to the Tracer, seeing that Pufa was no longer on that brig, which was the main issue with running the Tracer in the previous composition. So I really like the adaptations Quokka is making. I'm a little bit surprised that MI6 is not going to make the same adaptation and go back to that brig, considering that if they run the Ashe here, if they run the Tracer here, that Totodile and Pufa are really exposed.
For the time being, it looks like MI6 will be sticking with the composition we saw at the very end of third point, despite having a decent amount of success in the beginning on the Brigitte. I would not expect Shun to stick on this Bastion. It would be funny, but Pirate Ship has not exactly been viable for some time.
I thought they did have a Risa Rhine, which...
Oh no, they're doing it, okay.
Oh no, they're doing it, they are doing it.
Double
Barrier Pirate Ship is coming out here. The big thing is, the main problem I see for MI6 is they don't have a lot of burst damage to be able to get rid of this Bastion quickly.
Do have a little bit of a Tracer duel on the side, which Grimace gets the better of Craig, and so that's a huge amount of damage now gone for the defenders. They're going to need to do something about this Bastion at some point, and Craig, now being in spawn, has the opportunity to swap. Doesn't look like he will for the time being. The dive coming in, but that's only going to last so long when you have a sentient turret. Now aiming straight at your mug. As Totodile is the next to fall, and it looks like they're not exactly sure how to approach this. Everyone just kind of running blindly into the cart, which has its own self-defense mechanism for the time being, and that'll be first point at a blazing fast speed, not even in overtime, despite only having a minute going into that point. Mellow falling is not a great start to this second point, however, as 360 does the damage before he gets out. Pufa, not sure where that came from, probably over on the cliff behind first points, and now every single second counts, every single meter counts for Quokka Queens. As once they get off, that is it for this push.
Oh, Totodile just out-dueled Grimace. I saw him chase him with the right-click and forced that recall. Also, I think Pufa jumped off the cliff, so she did not get staggered too badly. I will say, though, the Bastion just has no counters right now. Unless MI6 can get this Flux off, I don't... Oh, but...
Oh, Mellow falling once again, 360. threads the needle. Shund taking out 360, who says a turret cannot be a sniper. But as we say that, 360's Bob will get the last laugh, and that will more than likely be a Sig 9. Not quite, but it doesn't matter, as Quokka Queens will end their second round right then and there. Decent push, though.
Yeah, really good push. Crake also making that adaptation onto the Hanzo to help melt some of the barriers. And also, obviously, that pick-off onto the Mercy of Mello was really critical. However, they did give up a lot of space, but on the same time, however, MI6 was kind of untouched on the attack for the first 2 points, and it stopped just short of second point. So we'll have to see if Quokka can adapt and able to hold off MI6 here on the attack.
Not the worst push possible. It could have gone into third point, which would have been effectively impossible to get even with 3 minutes. We do have another pause coming in for Quokka Queens. Probably the third pause this series, I believe 2 this map. So they must be having a lot of serious problems. But I'd have to assume if MI6 can get to first point, then second point might be a little bit easier, as they'll have a little bit more time to work with.
Yeah, also a big thing I also noticed, Shund and Grimace have traded the Tracer roles. Shund was originally on the Tracer and wasn't getting much value, but as soon as Grimace has taken this Tracer over, he's been looking a lot more capable on it, and Shund is on a Hanzo, which he looks also extremely capable on. So I really like the adaptations that Quokka Queen has been making. I do think MI6 should probably go back to this Brig. Even if the Wrecking Ball is not there, if the Tracer of Grimace is there and Totodile cannot duel him, he has been able to duel him, but in most cases Grimace is able to jump in and kill them off pretty quickly.
Okay, we might be seeing a little bit of a mirror here. 360 swapping from the Torbjorn to the Bastion, possibly sticking on the Bastion, and as we know, 360's aim is a little bit more deadly than just about anyone else. You do have Shund calling out copycats. They can probably hear the Bastion, although as to whether it actually happens remains to be seen, especially since Herping Yoshi is still on the Wrecking Ball. Might be seeing... yeah, okay, we're going to be seeing standard meta come out, so the Bastion is just a little bit of a tease, not quite the reality of this push. Herping Yoshi immediately onto the high ground, however, not even getting that low, as he does get quite a bit of ult charge for pile driving about 4 or 5 members of the defense, as they are desperately trying to get Sakaro back up to full health, but not if Herping Yoshi has anything to say about it. They are all off the high ground, vacated. This is now Herping Yoshi's territory. Grimace trying to do something in the backline, not really finding too much, but 360 will be felled by Shun's arrows. The Archer range true.
Yep. Really nice peel coming out from Crake to help out Totodile, because he got rocked and then Grimace was all over him. A nice peel, however, Shund, 360 will retaliate on the Shund though. Really nice pickoff.
This is a almost clinical offense coming in from MI6. They really want to take this first point with as much time as possible. It's not going to be quite as fast as Quokka Queens was, but it doesn't matter as they have a significantly larger time bank. Herping Yoshi just diving into the backline of Quokka Queens relentlessly. Already has his mines. He could use at any point in time, but they don't feel the need to, as Sakaro is taken out with no ultimates invested whatsoever. Pufa will fall, and that will be a resurrection. A lot of healing now gone. Actually, now all of the healing for MI6 now vacated from the premise. Do have Dream investing the Gravitic Flux. Actually will take out Shund, but that is really the only thing they will find, as he is resurrected, Shund is, and Dream will be forced back into the spawn violently. About a minute remaining.
Really interesting decision by Dream to use that when every single member of your team was down, except for you and the Wrecking Ball. I really don't know if that was the play. However, they do have 5 ultimates to try to crack this defense.
We do have the mine coming in way into the backline from Herping Yoshi. Shund investing the dragons. Craig actually will find Mello with a pulse bomb from the absolute farthest backline you could imagine. Herping Yoshi still just causing a ruckus. He's already a third of the way to his next minefield. He just used his last one. Bob coming in from 360 will put a little bit of extra pressure onto Rockcrafts, forcing his shield down, and sure enough, he will be assassinated from the kill squad plus Bob. And that will be apart, moving on forward. Grimace trying to do something, but there's only so much you can do 1v5.
Yeah, however, the Bongo, Lift, and Bap window are all available on the side of Quokka Queens, along with the Pulse Bomb. And there's only the support ultimates are all that MI6 have. And this is going to be an overtime as well, and if the Sigma lifts all of them off, it's going to be game over.
Definitely, however, the support ultimates they do have on the side of MI6, which will allow them to survive most of this onslaught, depending on how Quokka Queens plays this. We will have to wait and see. Right now, they're just posturing. Quokka Queens getting ready to basically press Q all at once and see what happens, as is tradition. Pulse Bomb coming in will be whiffed, so Grimace, without his largest piece of utility in this do-or-die scenario, Craig trying to do something as well, trying to take out his counterpart, will steal the Mega Health Pack. Shund being taken out. Rockcrafts will get stunned out of his Gravitic Flux. Shund will be res back up, but as stated earlier, Totodile has the Transcendence ready for the onslaught. Shund will take out Craig. Dream soon to fall thereafter. The Resurrection coming in onto Dream, but the kills are starting to come in favor of Quokka Queens. Going back and forth quite a bit as the Resurrections coming in. Both Valkyries are now live. Shun trying to do something, but Tree60 finds the kill in the 1v1. Rockcrafts is the only one remaining on point. Dream actually has his Gravitic Flux, but he whiffs it, so there's not too much to be said out of that. Mellow is now the only one remaining on point before before Grimace gets there. Mellow will be taken out by Krayak. It looks like MI6 have the advantage on the points. The ultimates are now all expended. The window out from Monarch, but it doesn't matter as he is taken out as well as his Lamp Takaro. Not long for this world. MI6 can taste the victory. The yellow box on the floor just in front of them. Less than 2 meters to go, and they will be taking Junkertown.
I think the main difference maker was both Tree and Herping Yoshi. Herping was getting so much value in disrupting that Bongo came out. He took out 2 people, first by landing on the Tracer, then rolling through the Baptiste. I really think Herping and Tree really performed really well. Though I will say, Quokka was performing as well. The DPS was really popping off. Oh, what a shot onto Tree.
And then the buff does things, as you do, if you are a robotic butler.
Yeah. But I really honestly think that this is a really close game. Both of these teams look like at any moment in time they could win the series. I do think Quokka is a little bit easier, is a little quicker to adapt at this current moment. And it looks like we might already have our map choice coming out from Quokka, which will be King's Row. I saw that coming because Quokka did look really comfortable on the brawl composition, and MI6 looks a lot better on the rock and roll. And on those pokey kind of compositions, that's how I think they pulled out Junkertown. So I think Quokka's trying to force MI6 into playing that brawl. We'll have to see how that unfolds. There might be a switch. I would not be surprised if they subbed out Herping, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, a lot of subs for actually both teams, so there's a lot of options in this scenario. A lot of potential. We already, of course, have the sides and the map. Sure enough, you predicted it. Martini coming in for Herping Yoshi.
Yeah, Yoshi was doing really, really well on the Wrecking Ball. However, I know for sure that he's mostly an off-tank player outside of Wrecking Ball. So he is not as comfortable on his Reinhardt. And I do know Martini is really good on his Reinhardt. So that is a logical switch, I believe.
And, well, Zach certainly has been forced to play a lot of Reinhardt in his time. I know it is not his most comfortable main tank, so there is some concern here for Quokka Queens unless they have a substitute. I know they have Tyler, but I believe he's a DPS player. I think his tank is a little bit too high for Apprentice.
Yeah,
So.
I believe. Yeah. Yeah, and they don't really have. Nevino, I don't believe is eligible yet. I don't know if they picked him up in the draft, so Nevino is not eligible right now.
I don't think he plays main tank either. I think
He's
off
DPS.
tank.
No, he's
Oh, is he?
DPS.
Oh.
So never mind. Ignore me.
So.
But this is an interesting game. MI6 looks really comfortable on that rock and roll composition, the Sigma Wrecking Ball. However, we'll have to see how they do on Brawl now that they actually have a Reinhardt player in, and also how they're going to do against Brawl v Brawl. The only weakness I could possibly see is the Tree60 because he doesn't really have that many good Brawl DPSs down. The only DPS he really played on Brawl with his previous team was the Sombra. However, his Sombra isn't the best. However, it isn't the worst at the same time. So that might be the composition. It might be Reaper Sombra. That's my honest guess. However, I would not be surprised to see either a Reaper. I don't know what they could play. Maybe Reaper Tracer, put Tree onto the Reaper, but Tree isn't comfortable on the Reaper from what I remember.
You could
Uh,
probably, in all honesty, have like Krayak on the Echo, 360 on the Ash, or the McCree. Possibly, he's definitely comfortable on McCree.
Oh yeah, you're not right. You're not wrong. Tree's Cree is actually pretty good. So maybe you're. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about his Cree. But yes, his Cree is actually really really good. So yeah, I do agree. Most likely will be that Cree. It'll be interesting to see if Craig will either roll out on the Reaper, will roll out on the Tracer, or the Echo, maybe even, or the May. Who knows? Maybe they'll run the May Cree
Oh
typically.
yeah, yeah.
So
Bringing it back to early 2020.
yeah. Though I will point out, Shun did play the Tracer. No, wait. He played May. Actually, never mind. He played May for a majority of Mecha Base. Did switch to the Tracer near the end, but that was only because MI6 were running the Wrecking Ball Sigma composition, and Tracer gets a lot of value in that split type situation. I would not be surprised to see a May Reap coming out on the side of Quokka Queens. We'll have to see though how this goes. I do think right now as well the support line for MI6, Totodile, I'm hoping can demonstrate either a really good show out on the Lucio because he was dying a lot. He was able to duel Shunde, not Shunde, it was Grimace every once in a while. However, I do think right now the weakness I'm seeing at least in this team is Totodile. It is kind of the support line. Poofa's been doing pretty well, especially with that overtime, being able to get the reses and the Valkov. But I do think Totodile right now is at least the glaring weakness in MI6.
I don't recall exactly who, but I don't believe it was Totodile in for the preseason tournament. I, for life of me, can't remember who was playing. I'd have to go back and look at those VODs if they're still up.
I think it was Raidmus or
Oh, it was
what's her
Radimus.
name? Radimus, yeah, because that Poofa Radimus is actually is actually an all female support line. I'm not saying anything bad about that, but that's actually like that support line is also really strong. And so that may be why Totodile is in. Maybe Raidmus could not make it today. Or maybe maybe they have a plan because obviously we've mentioned that the lobby is full. So maybe Raidmus is just sitting in a VC somewhere and they've decided to stick with Totodile for right now.
Well, taking a brief look at Totodile's profile, they do also play quite a bit of Ana. They play a decent amount of Moira, so they have other options in terms of flex support. Poofa, wouldn't be shocked to see Lucio, probably a Brig. I wouldn't expect to see the Mercy in this map.
Yeah. Dream was doing the most amount of damage on that last map. It was a little bit more of an even distribution for Quokka Queens. Sorry, I'm looking. Thank you for Wooly, by the way. Is it Roxcraft who made the stat tracker? I think it
He
is.
made the template for the stats while
Yeah,
he's inputting it into the sheet.
yeah. But it's actually looking really well right now.
Do have a little bit less than a minute, probably closer to 30 seconds by this point, for the teams to get ready. Series is tied up 1-1. I'm not sure what kind of overlay, probably no overlay, which I guess has to be expected as we're not streaming. But we are going into the map.
Yeah, this is gonna be this map will probably be the most I'll say plain. That's going to be the best word of it. This will probably be the most basic composition we'll maybe see. You never know. Like, obviously, you never know when the random AC-130 strategy comes flying out of nowhere. For all those who do not know, that's Sim teleporting a Bastion to the top of the Zenyatta of the Mondada statue right here. But
famously pioneered by Team Iran in Overwatch World Cup 2019.
Exactly. Okay, no, they're in spawn. But what is interesting, we're seeing Shadow Dive come out on the side of MI6. This is something I did not expect. I thought the Reinhardt, if they were not running, I was expecting the Reinhardt. I was not expecting Shadow Dive. This is Shadow Dive's kind of fallen off in meta as I forget what the exact reason was. I believe it was McCree receiving buffs and a couple of nerfs coming to the heroes in Shadow Dive. But this is really interesting. It will be. You can go ahead. Sorry, with your analysis.
But, well, you do have the fight breaking out regardless. The Shadow Dive running on in. Martini is getting frozen up, but he will jump out just in time, but not in time to save his life. Just prolong the inevitable, as that is a clean sweep for the offense.
Yeah.
That will be first point taken, or at least one tick, more than likely first point taken for Quokka Queens rather rapidly.
Yeah, I will say I'm not liking the Shadow Dive on this map. In Shadow Dive it can work on King's Row. However, the Reinhardt plus the Mei plus the Zarya really provides a lot of extra damage that the Shadow Dive composition itself does not have. However, if they get into an ult rotation, they may not be in a bad spot.
Okay, and the Shatter will find 5. That's 5 dead plus Tree. Yep, sure enough, they don't even stagger Dream, they don't need it. But they do, however, need to push carts, and that is Mellow's job right now. So they will have to make up for a little bit of lost time there. As the cart was not moving, they get a little bit overzealous.
Yeah, I think the Mei is providing a lot more utility than the Sombra is right now. Because I mentioned that Tree isn't the most confident on his Sombra. So he's definitely gotten better. However, it is not his best hero. Hack comes out onto the Mei, though.
Lessons will come in. However, Hainoon will force MI6 to back up just a little bit. Krayak will be the first to fall. Blizzard coming in, but Dream has it as a nice afternoon or evening snack. Damage coming in from both sides. It looks like the attack will keep on rolling through. However, EMP coming out will find 4. Actually forces out the beat from Mellow. Not sure how that happened since no one was dying, but it happens to the best of us, you know.
I mean, it's good to keep like your beats in rotation with the EMP, so I don't necessarily dislike that. However, again, I think MI6 just does not have a lot of damage when they get into the brawl. Winston only kind of tickles, and Sombra isn't really providing that much damage, whereas the Mei, Kree, and Zarya plus the Reinhardt are all providing extra damage. Kraig will find
the Reaper will fell the devil herself, known as Mei. Bomb coming into the backline will find 2, and that is going to be the defense holding on for just a little bit longer thanks to Dream cleaning up.
Yeah, I will say, yeah, I just don't like this composition on the side of MI6. Quokka's able to play a lot more tight. I also gotta stop caster cursing, but Shun did have the highest death rate on that last map.
Death Blossom coming in, but it is eaten for the most part. It will take out the lamp, but Krayak meets Hainoon to the face. Blizzard now invested as well on top of the window from Monarch rather late into that fight, so that is now 3 ultimates invested just to get through the door to the point. Totodile will find Monarch in a rather awkward 1v1, but that will be the card pushing on forward with 4.5 minutes remaining, mind you.
Yeah, Grab, Shatter are the only ultimates on the side of Quokka, and there is a beat and maybe an EMP. We'll see if Tree can build it here. But again,
Dive comes in, but Martini forgot that Shadow Dive is not actually dive, but a brawl. EMP coming in, but it doesn't quite matter as Pufa invests beats to her own EMP right as Graviton Surge rather comes in. Zac is taken down little by 360. Actually, Tree's finding 2. Totodile coming back with the Coalescence of all things. Totodile finding 2 of their own, and that will be the cart stopping just a little bit shy of third point with a little bit less than 4 minutes remaining.
Yeah, very nice comeback, by the way, from Totodile, and actually Tree got 2 kills also as a Sombra, so that doesn't happen that often. So really nicely played. However, Martini keeps diving in and just keeps getting... That's not how you're supposed to play Shadow Dive.
Well, he's going to do it regardless, as the High Noon once again comes out from Grimace. The only thing blocking the team from it is a bubble, but the bubble is rather flimsy, as you might imagine, leading to Martini and Poofa's immediate removal from the game for the time being. Grimace still cleaning up house. That is, what, 5 kills? Shun taking the 6th, or before Grimace gets the chance for his own, but the Staggers are coming back for the defense. Shatter coming in, but it will find the bubble. EMP will find actually all 6, but Tree will spend his life for it. Beats coming in from Mello. Martini costing his life in the backline. Dream not finding anything with the bomb. Ultimates coming out left and right, mostly from Quokka Queens, as they just want this over already. They've been at this for about 3 minutes. They are just done emotionally. But the defense is not quite as done, as Tree 60 and Martini are still trying to stall out as much as possible. Grimace has better things to say about it, however, and that will be 3rd point taken in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I really do believe. So the main thing I'm seeing right now is the compositional difference between MI6 and I keep harping on it, but I do think Martini is playing too aggressive as a Winston. Winston, you're supposed to kind of treat it more as a Reinhardt with a jump. So you're not really supposed to jump in to engage. Usually use that jump as a disengagement tool because it's not really supposed to be a dive, per se. That's the point of the Lucio. That's the point of the Moira. It's very... I really think they should probably switch onto the Ryan Zarya, just because Ryan Zarya as a tank line provides a ton more damage than the Winston D.Va tank line, and I do believe that was the main difference. Also, the Sombra was doing okay. However, I do think Mei had a lot more utility in the Mei v Sombra matchup, and on top of that, Mei was a major counter to that Winston. I really do think we need that. I think MI6 needs a Reinhardt here, at the very least, if they want to try to push. At least to try to perform well. Shun's going to be coming out on the Junkrat. That's actually not bad, especially if they continue with the Shadow dive. That could put a lot of pressure onto the Winston.
For the time being, it looks like MI6 will continue to bash their heads against that wall, trying to make this Shadow dive work. No real swaps coming in for the now offensive MI6. As you said, shunned on this Junkrat, looking for some good old area denial. A little bit of extra cheesy damage here and there. Grimace sticking on that McCree, which he did so well on towards the latter half of their push. For Quokka Queen's attack, everyone just kind of posturing, waiting for an opening. Tree looking for an opportunity to hack, but Rockcraft will scout him out and actually take him down, no less. So that is now a decent amount of damage now gone. Poofa will also fall. However, she is not alone, as Rockcraft will be taken out by Krayak. A lot of damage coming in. Grimace just doing his own thing in the backline. Will pay for it with his life, but the kills are done. The deed is done, and that will be Quokka Queens holding first point for this first fight.
And there's going to be a nasty stagger here on the Dream. They're not gonna let. Oh no! They didn't kill her though.
360 finds Shund, who is a little bit too aggressively positioned, shall we say. So 360 does get a free kill there, and without that area denial, it looks like Quokka Queens want to back up just a little bit.
Yeah. Good kill off on the free. However, again, I'm not.
Oh, Krayak gets a little bit overly aggressive there before his tanks even have the chance to push in. And that will be the Reaper now gone. A huge amount of damage done. Totodile investing the Coalescence, trying to keep the tanks alive. Grimace trying to find something with the High Noon, but it will be eaten up by Dream just briefly before his mech is taken out. Shatter coming in will find everyone remaining on the side of MI6. Martini tries to do something with his Primal Rage, but it will not be enough, as he's just melted by the minds of Shun, with about 96.8% of the points yielded over.
Yeah, decent amount of point progress on the side of MI6. They are doing a little better. However, I do think right now QQ is able to hold a space a lot better. MI6 has to rush them, and I do think just the damage of the BAP, of the Zarya, of the Rhine, and the Kree is a lot higher than the Winston D.Va and the Reaper. Sombra, so I do think the core of QQ is a lot stronger. Out comes
EMP, gets stunned out. Grimace finds the flash at the exact right moment. Tyre comes in, cleans up the Graviton Surge. That is a fight won in such a brief period of time with just 2 ultimates and a well-placed flashbang.
Grimace has really been showing up on this McCree. He was a little bit weaker onto that Ashe, but on the other hit scans, he's been showing up really well. And nice, that was a really good... He saw the translocator and immediately flashed knowing the Sombra was coming. And that was a nice stop.
Do have the window coming out. Craig doesn't even get a chance as a damage-boosted mine will find him when he needed it most. High Noon once again coming in from Grimace. Bomb will take out Monarch, but it doesn't really matter as 5 people remain on Quokka Queens. Well, Shun is taken out, but he's eye for an eye, as they say these days, as Totodile will be escorted back to spawn in probably the more humiliating way possible.
Yeah, I just think, again, the damage is just overwhelming MI6 right now. Because every time they die... Also, the CC coming out from Grimace has been insanely good.
Rockcrafts, for the 3rd time in a row, will find 360, scouting the Sombra out of invisibility, but he will also pay for it with his life. Shunned will and Poofa, but it looks like the kills are finally coming in favor of MI6 with about 30 seconds remaining. Monarch packed up and taken out, and that will be first point finally for MI6.
Yeah, they finally, that, Totodile, the one consistent thing, actually, I've been harping on Totodile a little bit, but Totodile's coalescence have actually been really good on the side of MI6. And has been keeping their team in the fight for a long time.
Oh, wow, the dive coming in onto Shun, he didn't stand a chance. That was 4 people on 1 solo Junkrat, and there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, really good team communication there from Tree, actually. Finding that Junkrat and then able to get all 4 of the teammates to jump onto that Junkrat. There's a Shadow Tire coming out on the side of QQ. There is an EMP on the from 360. We'll see if Grimace will be able to stop it again. However, here we go.
He will not 6-men EMP'd, especially with Mello so close to his beat. If he can survive, he might be able to build it up. Sure enough, he does. He uses it, but not in time to save Zakaro. The Shatter now out of the fight. Martini trying to do something with the Primal Rage as well. The point is pushing on ever forward with Poofa just chilling in the meantime. High Noon coming out, forcing the attackers back a little bit, but Mello is now out of the fight once again. Damage is done. 360 taken out by a rogue mine from Shun, and that will be a little bit of a equalization, as they say, for Quokka Queens. Tire coming in from Shun. Maybe he wants to swap off of the Junkrat, not finding the value he wants. Sees Martini, but thinks better of using it against when there's a perfectly good Lucio waiting to be exploded into a million tiny pieces, especially when Rockcrafts cleans up the instant for you in the meantime.
I did like the aggression coming out from MI6 holding that, but I do think they kind of got a little bit overzealous. They could have just held at the corner. Instead, at Martini push past, Tree went in to try to save him, got caught by that mine. Also, the beat was wasted to try to stop the tire. Beat is not the best answer to tire because as soon as the Junkrat can just hold on to the tire, wait for the beat to expire, and then go back in, and that's exactly what happened, which killed Poofa. Bomb comes out, though.
Gets caught on the corner, but it doesn't matter as it finds 2, as well as Craig killing Rockcrafts with his Death Blossom, and that will be the fight for the offense once they can clear off Mello, who is not long for this world.
I will say really good, really nice coordination right there. Also, good use, even though Death Blossom was a little bit... Most people would say Death Blossom was a little bit extra. I did like how they used Death Blossom. Considering they didn't have beat to counter the grab, Death Blossom is also serviceable, just because you create a little bit of a... You can build some space around the grab. 360, though. Grimace has just been finding 360 and killing him for a majority of this map.
And sure enough, he's not quite done yet, as he invests the High Noon will immediately find Totodile, as well as Martini out of the High Noon itself. Dream trying to get back to spawn, will do so, saves his mech for just a little bit. Rockcrafts once again scouting out for 360. Will not find him this time around, gets hacked up, but his team is there, he will survive.
Yeah. Also, Shun, when we go over to the Reaper, I like this. A little bit more of a harder counter to the Winston.
Sure enough, the Shatter is good. Will find 3 people. The MP finds 6, but will it be enough as Martini and Dream now out of mech and in spawn respectively? 360 soon to follow. Zakaro will fall, but that's really the only one falling here on the side of Quokka Queens as Grimace thinks better of letting the card push any further. Already has another High Noon. He's building one every 45-30 seconds now.
Yeah, Grimace has just been insane in this McCree, and I'm really thinking...
Oh, he's not done! We do have a call for a pause.
I will say, it does. All 6 members of Quokka Queens are performing really, really well. But it does seem that either Dream has to get a really good bomb, or Tree needs to get a really good EMP, or Totodile needs to get a really good coalescence. It's more individual on the side of MI6, while Quokka Queens does look a lot more team coordinated, and it does seem Grimace is really comfortable on this McCree. So
It's also interesting to see that MI6 aren't really utilizing the biggest combo from when Shadow Dive was the meta, which is EMP Blossom. They've sort of been using them independently of each other, which
yeah,
is rather interesting to see.
yeah, because Craig, I believe, has been getting his blossoms a little bit more faster than Tree's EMPs, which should not be the case. But that's what's exactly what's happening, and that's because Tree is constantly being scouted out by Rockcrafts, is being stunned, flashbang, right clicked by Grimace. So it's looking like the DPS on the side of QQ is also outshining Kraken Tree 60. And again, we saw this coming into this map. This was looking really like this was going to be QQ's map, and is definitely showing. Again, I am still amazed Martini has not considered switching off of this Winston, especially because they were playing the Mei last round and now they're playing a Reaper. Plus, the McCree stun means usually that Winston is going to die pretty quickly.
Sure enough, and you have to wonder if they can even push the cart to third point, assuming they can full cap with any time remaining. Because if it does get down to overtime, then Quokka Queens has 2.5 minutes to capture just one tick. That
Yeah,
is not
it
exactly
is
hard.
really looking. It is not looking that good. At this point, I wouldn't worry about trying to cap with time. Your main goal right now is just to try to cap, just so you have a chance at a draw.
Sure enough, although this would be a lot of effort from both teams for nothing if it were a draw, and I feel like that would be demoralizing. But nevertheless, that is the really the only opportunity that MI6 is going to have to do anything here. Shun looking to do something from on high. Grimace, however, is the first to act with his high noon. Will not find anything. Dream once again eating that fight up. Shun does have the Death Blossom, but he doesn't get a chance as Krayak is the better Reaper in this scenario. He invests the Death Blossom once again, but will not find Rockcrafts this time around. Mello is ready with the beat. Window coming out. Final fight, you might as well. The bomb coming in will find Mello, surprisingly enough. I'm not sure where he was, but Totodile now hungry for some more, as not quite sure Monarch will be able to get out. No, he will. So this is going to be a defense with quite a few ultimates remaining, and the offense really only has a Primal Rage and coming up on an EMP, but they wasted 4 ultimates trying to get the cart to move.
Yeah, both DPS ult plus the Shatter's coming. Here comes the Death Blossom.
Is taken out almost immediately. Shun teleports up to the high ground. Will find 1 with the Death Blossom. Grimace finally gets to use his high noon once again.
Martini knocked the high nooning McCree outside of his bubble, and it killed 2 people because of it. So that was really nicely done, I think, by QQ. QQ were just playing that brawl composition beautifully, and I do think they do look a lot more comfortable in the brawl than they did on that double barrier and the rock and roll composition.
Sure enough, you have Rockcrafts cleaning up house in the play of the game there, and that will be Quokka Queens regaining their lead in the series 2-1. They are on match points, but MI6 are not quite out of it yet.
Yeah, I will say it does look like if this continues, would not be surprised if we go to a map 5, because I bet that I don't know what MI6 could pick, but I believe MI6 will probably pick a map that favors their composition, and because this is Assault, I would say Volskaya is probably going to be their pick. That one has the most lines of sight, and also is the least viable for Brawl to work. Brawl can work, however, Rock and Roll would probably work a lot better on that map. So it does look like I'm pretty sure MI6 is going to go Volskaya, just because Volskaya has those separate high grounds and it has such a defense advantage, and also it is a lot easier to attack with the Rock and Roll than Brawl. So we'll see.
Will be interesting to see what the map picks are, if there's any substitutes, as of course they subbed Martini in for Herping Yoshi, who they might bring back in now that it's Volskaya.
I'm expecting Herping Yoshi to come back in here, because Herping Yoshi has been the primary ball from what it looks like. Martini doesn't look comfortable on the brawl. Really, he didn't look comfortable at all on that map, to be honest with you. But it's probably they will probably make that switch. I would not be surprised at all because yep, there it is. Because the rock and roll was looking so much better for QQ. And I think MI6 is probably going to have to be forced into that compositional battle. What's going to be interesting is if MI6, I got them backwards because I think the team's flipped. That's fun. But I do think if QQ wins this, we go to a tiebreaker, right? It's not like
MI6 has to win it to go to a tiebreaker.
yeah. So if MI6 win, it goes to tiebreaker. If they lose, obviously QQ wins. But if they win, at least QQ doesn't get the map pick, because I think QQ would just pick one of the controls that favor Brawl, which would be Lijiang. Luckily, Oasis has a lot more ability to play the rock and roll composition, so I do think if MI6 can win Volskaya, they have a really good shot of winning this series. It's obvious that they have not practiced the Brawl composition as much and have been focusing on the rock and roll, and because of that, they are kind of at a disadvantage, I think.
Yeah, well, we will have to wait and see. Aside from the Herping Yoshi swap, not really seeing too much else. Quokka, of course, going for the defense.
Mm-hmm. I do think if they do defense, they're probably going to do a double barrier split composition, because the double sniper was kind of working for them. If the sniper is not working, then they might just go Grim on Tracer with a Hanzo instead of the typical Ashe. It just seems Shund is a lot more comfortable on the Hanzo than he is on that Ashe. So I think double barrier is probably what QQ is going to play, because they haven't looked the best at the rock and roll comp. Almost not as good as MI6, and in the head-to-head, MI6 seems to be winning that. So yeah.
So we do have a few minutes remaining here for the teams to keep the R.
Let's see if the stat sheets have been updated, which it has. Let me see.
So we're pretty much just waiting for these teams to give the R. And we can head off
to
St. Petersburg.
Tell you something about that last series. Everyone on MI6 had over 10 deaths, while no one on the side of QQ had over 10 deaths. So yeah, that was definitely telling what was happening on that map. And also, actually, I thought that Grimace would have the most ultimates used on that map, and he did have 10 high noons. However, there were 14 ultimates used by Dream, and that was 14 self-destructs. So
does that count as when he's remeching as well? Because I don't think he's had that many self-destructs.
Yeah.
Okay, so probably 7.
So yeah, probably maybe 5 actually. Because if you think, oh no, wait, but he only remade like once or twice. You're right, so maybe closer to the 7. I'm just looking at stats to see if I can find anything. Let's see. Totodile did over 21k of healing last round.
Not too shocking for a Moira.
Not too shocking for a Moira.
Looks like we are in the final moments here of match point for Quokka Queens, or the moment to save it all for MI6 as they try to stay in the series desperately.
I do think MI6 has a shot. However, if Quokka Queens was looking a lot better on the second half of Junkertown. So if Quokka has made those, are ready to start off with the adaptations they made on Junkertown, I think we might have a lot closer of a map here than what the attack of Junkertown was. That's what I'm trying to compare it to.
Regardless, we are off to jolly old St. Petersburg for MI6's.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Jolly old St. Nick, jolly old St. Pete. All right, I got you. All right. All right.
So we're going to have a few seconds here until we get to see what Quokka Queens decide to run out with on defense. Don't take what MI6 is playing too seriously quite yet unless they run out of meta. Okay, so we might expect them to see that.
Ooh.
Are they?
Ooh, they're doing it. Okay, this is a strategy. I can see the right switch, but I understand why they're doing this. It's kind of like the same mentality of a split push. The caveat is Pharah's going to be above, poking away at the back line, and with Sigma being the only barrier, that might not be a bad idea. However, there is an Ashe that's probably going to come out here on the side of Tree 60. And Tree 60's Ashe is nothing to laugh at.
Certainly not. So you have to have some gall to play Pharah into Tree 60 where he can play snipers. So this might be a fireworks show for you here, folks.
Yeah, but they are playing tight underneath, which is interesting. They're giving up the high ground just to protect the Bastion.
As well as Grimace playing further up and way further back, so that is going to give quite a lot of sight lines.
Oh.
Sure enough, 360 gets out-sniped by the Bastion because of course he would. Of course the res will come in, but not something you see every day.
Herping is sneaking in the backline currently.
Oh, yep, and basically the exact thing we were expecting to happen. The Pharah Mercy is taken out by the Ashe, and now they're fighting a 4v6 with the Bastion now taking quite a bit of damage. Herping not quite getting the roll off that he wanted, but they don't really need to deal with Bastion at this moment in time as they're not on point.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're not really putting pressure on the point. This is going to give time for the Pharah Mercy to get back in.
Oh no, Shund is out of Century. Never mind, he gets back into it. Craig!
Sigma's the only person like attacking the front line, which is expected, because the rest is poke, right?
Oh, wow, they're just allowing Grimace to come back like that and take everyone out. Rather awkward push there from MI6 as they kind of did the exact thing they shouldn't have done.
Yeah, the only thing I see the issue is Dream was pushing in by himself in front of a Bastion. He should be trying to probably stay back and just try to add some additional poke and give a shield. Also, I do like this Echo switch though, because the Echo will be able to put a lot more pressure onto those barriers. However, also Herping doesn't have a lot of avenues. If he tries to roll through, the Bastion isn't really going to get disrupted. And Grimace has also shifted his style. He's playing a lot more of a ground Pharah.
Sure enough, a lot of poke damage coming in, but not too much of a full-blown fight quite yet. But Monarch has had enough waiting. He decides it's time to bring about the IMAX theater for Shund to view. But Craig finding both the Pharah and the Mercy, not something you see every day. The Bob now coming in from 360 as well. Gravitic Flux finding everyone in the Mega Health Pack room. Craig getting caught out. Shund deciding that it is now time for the tank to make an appearance. Totodile meets the worst half of a rocket. And this is getting rather scrappy. Craig brought back into the fight, and the offense still trying desperately to do something. Shund being brought down rather low, and Herping Yoshi decides that the minefield is the best way to deal with a Bastion on 50 HP. Regardless, they do need to get on point eventually, as no one else is remaining to defend.
Well, actually, that was not a bad play, I think. The big issue I see on the side of Quokka Queens' composition, if they lose a Bastion or a damage dealer, they're extremely open to being attacked. And also, as soon as the supports were gone, as soon as that Baptiste and as soon as that Orisa were gone, the Bastion was just completely exposed. And Herping, I think, is actually smart of him just to use the mines onto the Bastion, just to get him out of the way, and allow his team to retake the point. We'll have to see how this composition now changes, especially with the Reaper.
Rockcraft melted before he gets a chance to do anything. Craig tossing in the duplicate for a Reaper. 360 cleaning up, however. Grimace didn't quite manage to get anything. 360 is still going. He finds 4 on top of his Bob, cleaning up Zakaro, and that will be probably second point unless anyone can contest. Rockcraft's trying to come back with the Gravitic Flux, but Totodile is ready with the Transcendence. Not that it was needed, as Rockcraft was taken out before he got a chance to even press his mouse button. 360 still going in the meantime, finding Grimace, and they don't even touch! They get booped back by Herping Yoshi, and that was a beautiful second point. They captured first point with about 30 seconds remaining and captured second point with about 3 minutes. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I do think the main reason for that is the Echo swap. The Echo swap was huge. The Echo put a lot of pressure onto that primary barrier, able to melt it pretty quickly, and then that duplicate onto the Reaper that Shun had just changed to really changed the tempo of the game. And honestly, I do think MI6 looked a lot cleaner, really clean on that composition. I do not QQ, sorry. MI6 looked a lot cleaner as soon as they went to that Echo, because the Echo was able to put a lot more pressure onto the tanks. What's going to be interesting to see is what QQ decides to do for the attack. It looks like they're leaning towards Brawl right now. Though, if MI6 is able to get the rotations in, Brawl should be at a disadvantage. However, MI6 has shown a little weakness at rotating. So we'll have to see. And I do like the Echo staying with the Echo. It's, even with the possibility of this Kree coming out from Grimace, at least Echo has a slight more survivability than Tracer, a little bit, but not really. Actually, never mind. I'm a little surprised they're not on Tracer, to be honest with you. But Craig at least will put in a lot more long range poke onto a Brawl composition. So we'll see what happens here.
Quokka Queens getting ready to do a quick rotation, already up onto the high ground stairs, looking to take the battle up above the points as 360, just poking in as much damage as possible, finding a few shots onto Rockcrafts, but otherwise, Quokka Queens are still just rolling on through, looking for some opportunities to push in onto the defender. Shun finding Poofa with some rogue icicles. You cannot res yourself, so that is the Mercy permanently out of the fight, but Monarch also gone, and Quokka Queens do not have a Mercy of their own, so Monarch also permanently gone for this fight. Grimace cleaning up house, finds both DPS on the side of MI6, and that is Quokka Queens already letting their presence be known onto the point. Dream getting pressured out. He will not be able to do much against Rockcrafts. Sure enough, melted down. About 3 minutes remaining. They're already on death's door for MI6. They're probably going to have some difficult time defending this point, if at all, and sure enough, the last vestiges of hope are now gone, with Poofa running in just to die soon thereafter.
Yeah, Quokka just looks a lot cleaner and a lot more coordinated on that. MI6, they played their initial rotation pretty well, but the problem is they weren't able to do enough damage to the individual members to cause enough disruption to allow them to win that team fight. And I do think, on this point, Brawl does have a little bit of a bigger advantage than what Rock and Roll had on the other point.
You have a few ultimates coming online for both sides, but not. Monarch has the window, but that's about the only thing. Sure enough, that would be the first thing to come out. Craig trying to pressure the backline. Dream takes himself out, which is unfortunate, but it happens. But Shun gets slapped upside the head by a Bob. Zakaro on basically 0 health. Having a staring contest with the Bob, but decides probably not a good idea to draw that out any further and will be sent back to spawn, courtesy the robotic butler.
Yeah, the big thing there was the Baptiste and McCree were absorbed because both the Echo and the Wrecking Ball dived them on the high ground, which was really nicely played because it gave Tree enough space both to pop the Bob and also to pick off the couple of members there on the side of QQ. There is the High Noon and Blizzard on the side of QQ, and there's only Mines, Dupe, Trans, and Mercy ult on the other side.
Sure enough, the Mines and the Duplicate come out almost immediately. The Blizzard coming out onto point, but doesn't catch anyone, but does force most of the defense off of the points. Poofa going desperately for a resurrection, but Grimace is ready with the High Noon and will take out Herping and Poofa, respectively. Graviton Surge coming in from Rockcrafts, and it looks like they're just done with this. They want to capture the point, they want to even make it with more time than what MI6 had, and that is going to be about a little bit less than a minute extra for Quokka Queens.
Yeah, the big thing is Brawl is able to just run over most of that tank line. If I were MI6, I do think maybe they need to switch their focus onto a lot more. Maybe play a little bit more high ground and try to be forced to give up some point, because right now they're just having a lot of issues dealing if all 6 members are playing on point. They're not really able to really pick off the heals because Brawl is able to sustain a lot more. I do think they need to maybe switch up the Echo for something that can provide a lot more poke, but it does look like they're just... Oh, no, wait. No, they're on the defense.
Well, they're certainly not playing the Bastion again, but they liked this May on the side of the Quokka Queens. Grimace actually sticking with the... Oh, we do have a pause.
Dang it! I was hoping for the Torb. I really was.
We have seen it in the past, but I guess we're not going to see it today.
So, it'll be Reinzar, Kree, May, Lucio, Bap. I actually like this. Considering how they played last time, if they just run over the Sig or the Zen, they're in a really good spot. And another thing is that May. It's really been shutting down the Wrecking Ball, especially because Herping has to play a lot more passively and is not able to disrupt the brawl as much as a Wrecking Ball typically would. Plus the McCree also popping off. He was able to kill out Crake. He was able to kill off Crake and Tree, basically, just as McCree. I do think a priority for MI6 is going to be trying to shut down Grimace.
Certainly building up high noons as quickly as he is, Grimace has to be doing something, and sure enough, he has been doing quite a lot. MI6's potentially final attack of the series. If Quokka Queens has anything to say about it, they have about half of the time they had initially. However, they do not have to deal with the Bastion this time around. Defense holding a lot further forward, and just poke coming in for the time being. 360 building up some nice old charge with a rather large dynamite. Craig trying to do the same with his mines. Herping Yoshi trying to draw some attention away from behind on the points, but that allows an opening for Dream to be taken out. But 360 thinks otherwise of that minor offensive from the defense and takes out both Sicaro and Grimace. The resurrection not available as they do not have a mercy. However, Dream is able to be resurrected. Monarch soon to fall there after Shunned. He'll be taken out as well, and that is more than likely going to be this first point taken with about a minute remaining.
I'm a little surprised QQ did not see the Wrecking Ball behind them. And because of that, he was able to get a lot of point presence.
Oh, Mello.
Oh, but Rockcrest is doing a lot of damage.
Okay. It doesn't quite matter, as it's really just Grimace left on point, and 360 is the only one downed. He might even be rezzed up. Sure enough, they are just ready to go. They're going to cap this first point in its entirety, which is not necessarily the easiest 2CV first point to take. About a minute remaining, and quite a few ultimates coming online. Grimace has had enough of the McCree.
He's on the Torb, boys. Torb is actually a really good counter for that Echo. Just puts a lot of constant pressure onto them. I will say, though, QQ did play it correctly. However, I do think Tree just was able to pop off and get those picks that they were struggling for earlier.
Valkyrie tossed in by Poofa, that is a good amount of damage coming in for Totodile and Dream in particular. Gravitic Flux now coming out as well. Sicaro and Rockcrafts caught in it. Rockcrafts gets the Graviton out, catches Dream and Krayak in it, but there's no follow-up. Only 360's Bob is taken down. Dream now frozen up by Blizzard. The duplicated Torbjorn is real, my friends, as 360 and Krayak finding the kills necessary. Krayak having the Molten Core, but he is taken out of the duplicate soon thereafter. Grimace's turret now taken out. Monarch not long for this world with the laser beam of death, as well as Sicaro being brought down by Totodile. They might actually capture a tick here, but it needs to happen quickly as they are in overtime now. But the kills are coming unanimously in favor of MI6. They're probably even going to full cap unless... Nope, never mind. Monarch cannot touch. That is going to be a full capture in overtime for MI6. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I know the meme was that he duplicated the Torb, but that duplicate Torb put so much pressure because the shield of the Zakaro's Rhine shield. Zakaro was dead, so there was no shielding for the duplicate Torb turret, and because of that, it just put so much pressure and allowed both Tree and Herping to put a lot of pressure onto the support line and the remaining Torbjorn, and that was actually that came in clutch. I think that Molten Core really turned the fight in the favor of MI6, and now they have a chance, honestly. But the thing is, they need to find a way to counter this this brawl attack, because if they don't, they're just going to get steamrolled again.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna have to play it different than they did last time, as they lost first point in what 30 seconds, give or
Yep.
take. So they're gonna need to be careful about it, depending on how they position, how they play it, what damage they're looking for. Would you even like to see like a further hold closer to the choke point itself, or do you think they just need to play the high ground better?
They need to play high ground, but the thing is as well, they need to be able to put in a lot more pressure. I think the big thing is herping. I think if herping can get behind the brawl comp and to be able to disrupt them, I think they have a shot. Also, the big thing is also shutting down Grimace, because Grimace is going to be the biggest counter to this Echo. And if Grimace gets picked, if Crake gets picked off, I think their defense might be in really bad shape.
Well, Craig already looking to build up his ultimate. He's already 13% higher than anyone else on the board currently, although Monarch is looking to do a bit of damage himself. Herping gets stunned up, but no real pressure brought onto him quite yet. Monarch is taken out by Craig, so already the kills are coming in favor. Shund already forced to use his Ice Block, and the kills immediately coming in favor of MI6. Grimace thrusts himself into the cold ravine below.
Really nice displacement coming from Herping. Really nice displacement coming out from Herping. Oh, that was a late stagger on the Shund. That's going to kill a little bit more time here for MI6. But that was really nice displacement by Herping and Crake, playing two different damage angles. I liked how Dream stayed a little bit longer and was able to give a little bit extra poke that gave Crake the window. Also, Herping was able to get behind them and cause a lot more disruption, and I do think MI6 capitalized it really well.
It's a little bit of a different rotation coming out from Quokka Queens, but MI6 are rotating themselves in turn. Krayak ready to toss in the mines as the bulk of the team comes in. Rockcross brought rather low as well as the pile drive coming in. Shund already down rather low. Monarch getting close to his window, but will he be able to survive long enough this time to be able to do anything? Krayak copies the Reinhardt of Zakaro, and Zach misses the charge, but Krayak certainly doesn't. A little bit of a reminiscence of Season 1 Apprentice there, as Krayak, former main tank last season. Tree finding the kills necessary, tossing in the Bob as well, doing a lot of damage. Zach not holding his shield up long enough as Herping Yoshi finds the mines. They have about a minute remaining, but the kills are still coming in favor of MI6 on this defense. Dream will be brought down, so they will not have... Never mind, he's brought back. I spoke too soon.
That minefield completely won that fight. The Bob as well from Tree was also kind of came in clutch. The big thing as well is you got to watch this. Rockcrest and Grimace like to go way in front of the rest of their team. And if MI6 is able to capitalize, especially on the Grimace, I think they don't lose Zen there. So I think they have a window here to win this game. Win this map.
Well, if they win it, they win everything. Quokka Queens, that is. 4 ultimates invested from the previous fight. High Noon coming out from Grimace will not find anything in the out of LOS behind Dream's grasp. Do have the Blizzard coming in from Shun, so they might be using that to capture the point as necessary. 360 looking for some extra poke damage, as well as Totodile already having the Transcendence if necessary. Grimace being brought down by a pile drive. And the beats coming in from Mello. They are giving up a singular tick, possibly even 2, as Krayak getting impossibly close to his own duplicate once again. Blizzard coming in, but the Transcendence is out from Totodile. He was ready and waiting. Mello being burnt down by the Dynamite. Bob once again coming in. Krayak going back to Old Faithful has the Reinhardt duplicate. That is going to be the end of map 4 and the beginning of map 5, folks.
I mentioned MI6 need to get those rotations down. They perfected it a lot better. I really liked how Herping Yoshi played as well. Did not get picked off, even though he had the roll through him and he only got flashed and frozen to death. He was able to survive, and because of that, he really was able to keep that game alive. And again, if you never doubt 360's ability on this Ashe, but MI6 played that composition perfectly, 69%. You gotta give it to Tree. He did 69%. But also, really well played by MI6. Those rotations were really, really strong. And it's gotten them back into... they've gotten back into the series as we go to Oasis, which, besides one map, I'm pretty... actually, it's gonna be tight, I think, actually. Because I do think... It could go either way, because the brawl composition can work on 2 of the 3, which is Gardens and University. However, and then the rock and roll composition can work on downtown, on City Center, and Gardens. So it's gonna honestly, I would not be surprised if we get a map 3. If we start out with Control Center, then go University, then go to Gardens, with Gardens being really tight because both compositions could work. Because it does look like QQ is leaning towards that brawl, and MI6 is leaning towards rock and roll, and that's what's going to decide this series.
Back, so I'll leave you to pick up the silence, Florida, briefly.
I'm just going to spin philosophic while he is away. Big thing I'm seeing right now as well is they need to shut down Grimace and Rockcraft. So those two are the biggest damage dealers, I think, on the side of QQ. MI6 needs to. However, at the same exact moment, QQ needs to put a lot more pressure onto the DPS Cricket 360 because they do seem to make a lot of mistakes if that happens. Also, Totodile does seem to play a little bit out of position. Also, for those watching now, because I am the only one, I'm going to look at... I don't know if Woolie's updated the stats quite yet. Actually, he has. So, thank you, Woolie, because I can actually talk about something. It does... Yeah, the big thing as well... Jeez, I'm looking at this. 360 had 24. The next closest 24 final blows, and the next closest person was Herping Yoshi with 12. And the match was 15 with Grimace, so 360 was definitely doing a lot of work there.
I am now back, by the way.
Yeah, I was just talking about how on that last map, 360 had 24 final blows. The next closest to him was 15. And that was on the other team. And the next closest on his own team was 12. So he was doing double the next highest person on his team. So he was definitely popping off. And I do say that the biggest things that QQ has to look for is putting pressure onto the DPS of Kraken 360 and finding Totodile, because Totodile a lot of times has been the first person to die in a lot of these fights. However, on the other side, they just need to watch Rockcraft and Grim, because Grim and Rockcraft have a tendency to leave their team to try to get a flank kill, and if they're able to pick them off, I think they're in a good shape. I think MI6 is in a good shape. This game is going to be really tight for this final map.
Well, we will have to see, as Quokka Queens has been switching it up quite a lot, in all honesty. They haven't really dedicated themselves to any one composition, more so just trying to flop depending on the map, it feels.
Yeah. Quokka seems a little bit more adaptable to MI6. However, MI6 is quality at the one thing that they're able to do, and as soon as they leave it, they're kind of weak. MI6 is really good at Brawl, and they are okay at the other stuff. That's why they're leaning towards that Brawl. The big thing I'm seeing, again, is the 3 different map types that we're about to see. Downtown is a lot of open space and is really good for the rock and roll composition. University is really tight-knit and is probably best for the Brawl. And then Gardens it depends on how you play it. If you are able to avoid the direct Brawl, I think rock and roll can work on Gardens. However, the Brawl composition does have a slight edge, I think. So if MI6 cannot adapt to find a way to break the Brawl composition, I think it will be hard for them to overcome Quokka Queens.
We have about 1 minute remaining. Both teams probably taking their time, as neither of them probably wanted to get to this point in the series. The players themselves never want to reach a map 5. The viewers, on the other hand, it's always fun. But got about a minute remaining. No real swaps coming in. No swap on the sides either. No point in doing so. Why make extra work for Wooly? He's doing enough as is.
Yeah. Also, no subs, which is to be understandable. Sorry, that makes no sense. That is understandable because Martini wasn't really doing much when he got switched in on Kings Row, and I think Herping has just been outclassing him on the Wrecking Ball over the Winston / he didn't even play Reinhardt. What am I saying? But But and it looks
We
like
are in University. This one
Quokka
is.
Queens should have an advantage here because they will be able to play the full-on brawl. It depends if MI6 makes a change, or if they're just gonna stick with. Yeah, it looks like they're gonna stick with it. The thing is, on this point in particular, I do think Quokka's composition has a massive advantage because they're able to. Because the space, Brawl is able to close the distance a lot quicker and is able to put a lot more pressure onto the Sigma, into the Zen. And I don't know if the Rock and Roll comp will be able to do that on the other side of MI6.
We will have to wait and see. There's certainly plenty of off angles for Herping and Crick to take. There's plenty of cover, artificial cover no less. So it's really independent on how these teams play it.
Yeah, Herping is already on the high ground, like, by himself.
He wanted the boop so bad, but it's unfortunately not going to happen. Poofa getting scared by Zakaro, but 360 is actually the first to fall. Grimace, his shots ring true, and Herbie trying to find some salvaging of this situation, but it looks like Quokka Queens will be able to pressure out everyone on the high ground. Shun's trying to do something, but will be forced into his ice block. Quokka Queens might take the first bit of points here, but MI6 are not fully disengaged. I don't know if you could even call it a soft disengage, as they are immediately ready to push in. It's really just shunned in front of the point, everyone else underneath it, trying to avoid the extra damage coming in from Dream. Zack getting caught out, but he will not be the first to fall. Herping is, but shunned, being caught out onto the point, as well as the resurrection coming in from Poopa, so MI6 are whole once again. Rockcraft's trying to do a little bit of damage to Krayak, but finding no results in that regard, as Herping trying to find something, but the close area does not allow for that much damage being brought in. Krayak, on the other hand, is loving this close counter, as Dream gets taken out by Grimace before he gets a chance. Krayak still doing damage here in the meantime, but it's still 30% going up. Krayak does have all the kills. I was going to say his duplicate, but forget that. He doesn't need his his ultimate when he's just getting kills left and right. It doesn't matter, as Rockcraft's now trying to come back, but Krayak is still at it. He's found 2 more kills there. Herping getting the final blow. Totodile falling to Rockcraft, but it doesn't matter since the resurrection is still there. Quokka are just trying to build up the point control percentage by this point. Grimace not long for this world as he rolls to his death. That'll be 63% on the board.
Yeah, the Brawl composition is also able to just sustain on point for a lot longer. Though the main might get staggered out here, gets away with his life.
The bubble from Rockcraft, the self bubble no less, will help survive.
But this mine and the duplicate could be huge here on the side.
Herping getting ready, and it looks like, sure enough, right on the entrance of the points, they do not have an ultimate to deal with it, and Shunned eats mines for breakfast. Totodile, and it's ready. High Noon coming out will not prevent any, will not kill anything aside from Dream, but it doesn't quite matter as Zakaro hammers Totodile, but will probably fight for it with his life. Not quite yet, as Craig duplicates the Lucio. Not sure if that was the intended target, but it's the one he is stuck with now regardless. He might even build up to a beat. Sure enough, he will. And get it off, so the rest of his team on point will have a decent amount of sustain. Poofa might be looking for a resurrection, but thinks better of it. Krayak now out of the duplicate and looking to harass the backline. But it looks like Quokka might be able to flip this point, especially as Krayak is finally felled. Herping Yoshi just stalling for that little bit of extra time. 360 finds it, exiting pick onto Shun. But Zack decides now's the perfect time to use his Shatter and cleans up house.
Yeah. I will point out Craig was able to stall that out by duplicating the Lucio. I actually was confused for a second because I thought that they had made the actual swatch to the Lucio, and I'm like, that's interesting. But I'm like, wait a moment, there's 3 supports on my screen. Nevertheless, Blizzard, both support ultimates plus Blizzard on the side of QQ. Herping might get this Wrecking Ball, but he might get these mines, but it's going to be tight.
They do get the touch at the very least, and they do have plenty of time. Shunned waiting for the opportune time to use his Blizzard, not really needing it as of quite yet. Tosses in the wall, and now he decides that it isn't time. But Zack falling is not a great start for the Quokka Queens. Beat coming in to negate the Granitic Flux, although I'm not sure if anyone was caught in it. A lot of ultimates being invested, but Grimace getting the better of the fight here for the time being, and Shunned cleaning up, no less. Oh, beautiful shot onto Krayak, and that will be this first round for the Quokka Queens.
Yeah, window high
dodgy
noon
fights.
sealed that. Window high noon sealed that fight, and I think Dream was stuck in his grab flux animation, so he was in a bad spot anyways. Really nicely done by Quokka, and obviously that composition. I was kind of impressed by MI6. They were able to perform a lot better than I thought they would on that point. However, it's just that compositional difference I think really overcame them. Now we're on the city center. This should favor, in theory, MI6. However, Quokka plays a lot tighter and is able to put, again, a ton of pressure onto the... now, it looks like they're going to run the Diva. I don't know if that's for sure. But if they put a lot of pressure onto... Oh, but we might see...
What is happening? Okay,
No, this is not a bad composition. I think from Rock... never mind, Rock Draft.
They're just faking us out.
I was gonna say Winston was not a bad idea. There isn't a lot to counter it on the other side besides maybe the Zen Discord Orb. So, I wouldn't have been mad at that.
Oh, wow. Herping Yoshi does manage to survive that with his adaptive shields in place, but Quokka do manage to claim the high ground for the time being. But not for long, as Shunned is found lacking in the face of Dream. They might have the high ground, but they're probably not going to capture the point, as Rockcrafts is now on the centerpiece, trying to rain a little bit of death onto Totodile. Will actually find it with the help of Grimace, and Quokka Queens drop down. Rockcrafts taken low, however, and it looks like the kills are starting to come in favor of MI6. Quokka took a little bit too awkward of a positioning, allowing themselves to be taking too much damage. They don't have any res on board. 360 getting a little bit too close for a sniper's comfort, but it doesn't quite matter as the kills are still coming in favor of MI6. It's really just Shunned on point, but he has about 3 health as Krayak will find him.
I do think that was decently well played. I will say, again, Totodile is the weakness in this composition. He has died the first, I think, most of the time. I do think Totodile needs to play a little bit more passive. He seems to be trying to play a front line, but Grimace keeps capitalizing on it. I do think as well, now that they have the point, it's going to be a little bit easier to rotate away from the bro comp. They'll just see it coming and get away.
Sure enough, that's exactly what they're doing. Sure enough, you have 360 rating on death from on high, but Grimace, using the high noon, will have to get out of it, and he will be taken down by Herping and 360. But both supports now gone. Krayak trying to get a little bit of a cheeky high noon duplicate there, but will not find anything from it. Still in control of the point, but for how long, as Herping Yoshi is brought down, and he's basically one of the last people who can contest. The DPS really the only ones remaining from MI6, trying to find something with Rockcrafts getting rather low, but Krayak will be brought down 48% on the board for MI6. And Totodile's staggered with the pulse bomb.
I really think Totodile needs the... it just also, like, they're playing this really well, the Brawl is. They just rushed down the 2 most immobile characters, which is the Sigma and the Zen. Put so much pressure that they just both died. And in the end, that was what really turned the fight, I think. Not even turned the fight, that turned the point over. They have the Flux and Valk, but both support ultimates plus Grab and Shatter on the side of QQ might change things.
You do have Herping Yoshi contesting the point, as well as Window coming out from Monarch. Gravitic Flux finds basically all 6, but the beat is ready. All the ultimates coming online, but Totodile should keep the rest of the team online as well. Krayak will find Monarch in the backline, as well as Grimace now gone. Those are 2 huge threats now gone. Mellow, Krayak is not quite done as of yet. He has another duplicate, but he's not even going to need it. They're going to take back the points with about 49% even yielded over before recapturing it.
Crake and Herping did a perfect flank and did basically what normally happens in this composition is the Wrecking Ball and Tracer attacks, but the Wrecking Ball Echo also works really well, and Crake has been performing insanely well. I think this is like his second or third duplicate in duplicate in like less than 2 fights. So he has been performing extremely well in this Echo.
Definitely, and sure enough, he has that duplicate online, so keep an eye on that, as well as Herping Yoshi having the mines. They have quite a lot to work with here. Sure enough, you get a duplicated Baptiste. Not sure if that was the intention, but it doesn't matter because Rockcraft's dying first is the best possible scenario for MI6 here, as they are in 1-fight territory. 360 just cleaning up house, and having an extra window is always a welcome sight. We are now in beyond 1-fight territory. We're in staggered, and there's a Bob online if 360 so desires. I believe he will toss it in now, and they can't even touch.
That was really nicely played by MI6, actually. They bait. Actually, I think they started baiting the Zen and the Sig, forced the Brawl to focus on trying to kill them, and then let the Ashe and let the Echo plus Wrecking Ball get into their back line and just put pressure onto them. So they actually played that really well. And because of that, we're on our final map. This is for the series.
Sure enough, it all ends here, Garden's Oasis. We actually have a little bit of a reassurance there from Krayek that he is meaning to duplicate these supports. I'm not sure if the exclamation point is for his certainty or satire. We can ask him if they win after the fact.
Yeah, possibly. Really nice, interesting adaptation. You're going for the Sigma Echo, just to put a little bit more pressure onto this Ashe and not let the Ashe and Echo just get free chip damage in. Oh no.
Herping Yoshi looking for the boop fight.
I saw that come. I saw that coming.
You can't let that happen. The man's been
cannot
insane.
let that happen. And with Grimace dying, that is gonna be a one fight. Herping Yoshi single-handedly won that fight. He's already 67 to mines because he got both tanks. Oh my goodness.
The man has been running amok on Wrecking Ball all series long. You have to expect that. Why would you take that rotation?
Yeah. Herping has been in this Wrecking Ball by Herping has been kind of a difference maker. I do think he's been playing pretty well, rarely dying. Honestly, I've only seen him. I've only died a couple of times.
He might have mines this next fight as we come into it. Quokka deciding to take the high ground, but Herping Yoshi trying to boop them off once again. Not doing too much, but he does get Rockcrafts to the low ground. That is exactly what they needed to capitalize on it, and Herping already has mines. Poofa does fall. That's really the only kill they're going to be finding here. Mines already invested. Monarch drastically caught off from the rest of his team. Dream falling low, however, shunned on the Reaper, doing quite a bit of work, and Sakaro swinging his hammer as much as possible, but they're already 34% in counting. They might be able to flip the point now, unless someone else decides to contest. Krayek on the high ground, but he thinks better of it, or thinks a little bit too late of it, perhaps. He takes out Monarch. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, again, it's the rushdown nature. Because the Lucio, Ryan, and Sigma are all alive, they just rush down the Sigma and the Zen again, and that's the one weakness of the Wrecking Ball comp, of the Rock and Roll comp. That is the one weakness of the Wrecking Ball comp. Though we'll see if 360 is able to get any value off of this flank here. But now they're running double barrier. The Ashe may not have as much value.
Looks like everyone was going to kill 360 there. Quite a large flank, but it did open up a lot of space onto the points, but they didn't capitalize when they could have, and like you said before, Sigma and Zen now gone, the least mobile members of the team, now taken down low. Bob invested when everyone was basically already dead. The Beat invested, so that's actually a worthwhile Bob, if you ask me. And
I have a feeling Tree might be considering a swap here.
Possibly to a McCree to deal with that Tracer, or just maybe felt like, I've been holding on to this. No, okay, I guess not. He's just
guess not.
Wait,
I really feel like maybe that was not a good play. If he had held onto it, they were able to contest point later in the round if they needed to. Herping and Crake are flanking, and they have a duplicated Reaper. We'll see if they were able to get this ult off without a McCree stun.
Quite a lot of ultimates coming online, as well as the duplicated Death Blossom. It will take Krayek out of his own duplicate. Rockcraft's finding a few with his own Gravitic Flux, and Poofa going for an ill-advised resurrection there. We are getting into one fight territory with a few ultimates online for MI6 and less.
UQ is looking like they were able to adapt, honestly, and this is not looking good. For the side of MI6.
But it will be a little bit sloppy here as we get into 95%. Herping Yoshi already touching the point. He has mines if he needs it. He's not really being brought down low as of yet. Already the Valkyrie being brought out. 360 taken out by a flanking Reaper, no less. Totodile saying that is enough death for the time being. Shunned being completely ignored, interestingly enough. Shatter will find Dream, and that should be his death to follow. He will take himself out, no less. Looks like the Reaper was just a little bit too much damage. As Shunned is cleaning up house, that will be Quokka Queens by the skin of their teeth taking the series.
I think the main difference is Quokka Queens was more adaptable than MI6. They were able to switch around the composition when it wasn't working. Really good adaptation, especially, of course, this had to be play of the game. Like, no matter what, I think Herping did play this game out really, really well. And I do think Quokka Queens, with a few more in the future, I think Quokka Queens can still be a really good, not Quokka Queens. MI6, I think, played pretty well. I do think they just need to build on that adaptability, learn another composition, learn how to adapt the composition to counter brawl, and they should be in a decent spot. But MI6, I've been flipping them back and forth. I'm sorry, but Quokka, the acronym name, the letter names, man. But Quokka Queens, insane work. Are we doing an interview?
I'm up for one if Wooly feels like dragging someone in. I believe Grimace wants to be interviewed.
Well, I mean, it does make sense. He was a little weaker on the first half of the series, but after Junkertown, he really turned the Jets on. To be honest with you,
Grimace being rather excited, but then playing coy.
I think it's probably gonna be either Grimace or Shunned. I think should be an interview. I think Grimace. Oh
Okay,
no!
well, Shun
Shunn's
to,
fine. Shunn's fine. Let's do Shunned.
All right, we'll get Shunned in here briefly. Just waiting for him to be dragged out. There he is.
Hey, how's it going?
Too shabby.
You got it, Breakfast.
On the victory.
Thank you. How are you, Acri?
Acri.
Peaceful. I have like
enjoying your break.
I have like 5 pings and I'm not looking at them.
That's good.
Anyways, talking about the game, how did you guys feel coming into this match?
Coming in, we felt pretty good. We knew we were gonna win. I think that some of the other management, personally, I think some of the other management were kind of overestimating us and underestimating MI6. I knew as soon as the schedule came out, this was going to be 3-2, just because it's first week. And I know the coaching staff of MI6, and they're good at their jobs. We definitely expected to lose Escort just because we're basically running two subs tonight. And we didn't really have a confident hit scan player. So as soon as we went to Junkertown, we pretty much knew we were going to lose that map. The Volskaya we wanted to try something new, so that didn't pan out, but we still won the match. So
interesting. You say you didn't have a confident hit scan when Grim was building up High Noon.
He popped up, but we went into it with the idea that we're probably not going to win this map. Just because it's usually a double sniper map, so
yeah, you guys really look like you were able to really adapt to the situation, especially on that final map. I don't really have a good question thought up. Do you have another one, Acri?
So you guys played a wide variety of compositions, from double shield to the traditional meta to more stereotypical brawl. I don't think you played Shadow Brawl. I think that was just MI6. No. But are you guys like practicing all these, or are you just kind of like practicing?
Yeah. In our first few scrims, our ball sig was looking pretty rough. So Navino has this coaching style where every team that he forces them to run Brawl until their comms get good enough, and then we branch out to other teams. And we actually just started scrimming ball sig again on like Wednesday. So we don't think it looked too shabby, considering that. But yeah, it's been a kind of a weird week just in terms of like consistency, because Navino we're planning on picking up, but he obviously couldn't play this week, and he actually got diagnosed with COVID, so he hasn't been able to make some of the scrims. Sai, our main shot caller, couldn't make it tonight, so we're confident we're only going to go up from here. But yeah. We definitely should have done better, but
yeah, I am familiar with the force your team into brawl scenario. Yes. I was a former member of of Wisdom Academy, so like I understand the pain. Not the pain; it's not really that painful.
How's Zach feeling being forced for a second season of Flux Cup into brawl?
He's actually doing really well. We found out like yesterday that Thai wasn't going to be here. Thai found that out yesterday, so I think Zach did a really fantastic job tonight, especially considering. Yes, he's been playing main tank for us.
Okay.
Interesting.
So Zach was having some PC issues for the past couple weeks, so he actually hasn't even been scrimming at all, just because he literally couldn't log into Overwatch. So he got his issues kind of resolved this week, and basically like started scrimming with us Wednesday and Friday. And so I'm pretty proud of him for coming out the way he did and playing the way he did tonight.
All right, well, that's all I've got.
I honestly, I won't lie to you. I don't have any questions on my head right now.
That's cool. That's cool.
So I think that's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll let you get back to your team. Enjoy the hard-fought victory.
Thank you. Thank you. See you guys later.
All right, well, that was an exciting match. Unfortunately, not streamed, but I'm sure Braxis will be kicking himself after he sees the scoreline. Regardless, fun to watch, fun to cast. I've been Acronator on play-by-play, Florida on color casting, and Wooly hosting and recording.
Yep.
That's all we got. So, see ya.
See ya.